Hey guys, as you're going to see coming up in this video, I sold my 1 kilowatt Prima machine, and I have this machine on its way, and it's going to be for sale. It's a 3,000 watt Raycus CNC fiber laser cutter, and Ray Tools head also includes a 15 kilowatt air compressor, so you can cut with compressed air instead of spending the expensive money on nitrogen. So if you're interested, send me an email. I bought this thing online and ended up being way too long for what I needed. All right, here's how this thing goes together. So in the back of this assembly, you've got the pin for the hitch, or for the ball, and that's our 2 5/16 ball. You see that thing's rated 21,000 pounds. And the 2-inch ball rated for 8,000 pounds, so you can swap those out as needed. And then you slip your pin in from the back. And then it's got a little recess there that tucks in. And then when you get it, dropped in the position that you want, you have this lock assembly here, so you get it where you want it. Lock, whoops. Now it's locked in there, and you get a little cover to go on there, like that. The only thing I don't have is a locking pin for here, so this thing could still be stolen, but let's get it on there. 17.5. All right, so they sell the matching hitch pin, and on the key is a code, and you just put the code in there and they'll send you the match pin. This is the forklift driving chick making the grandson laugh. If this doesn't make you smile, you need to unsubscribe right now.
Stop playing. Right here. Milk and cookies. Mary. Teddy bear.
So those of you that have been following along for a little while know that I've been working on this crane, and I showed the finished just in a quick little video. In fact, my very last video, it showed this crane being used to unload a machine. But this is kind of fast forwarding back and showing a little bit of detail. I had in previous videos done a little bit of work on getting this modified to support this beam, and for those of you that don't know the logic behind this, it's basically a cheap way to be able to lift a lot of weight electrically or hydraulically, or electric over hydraulic in this case. So yeah, there's a lot of other ways to do it. You could do a manual chain fall. There's lots of things that you could do to do this, but this is what I chose, and so far it's working out good. So so after previously test fitting that beam, I pulled it off in the last little clip that you saw there, and then I am adding some extra plates that match up to some existing plates that were already welded on here that I welded in the previous video. And these are going to be able to allow some triangulated bars to go in here and make them removable, so I can unbolt this thing and make it into a lift or sell it as a lift, put it back like it was before I started messing with it. So here's the beam and the other plates that we're going to be mounting at the end of the posts, and then get the holes laid out and drilled. All right, so there's all the holes in the bracket bolted to it, and you'll see here in a second how this is going to be used. But basically, we have some 3x3 tubing that are going to, triangulate this whole thing, and the beam has enough capacity to carry the loads across the full width. But I'm mainly concerned about just the racking and movement of this thing left and right because of how high in the air it is, and how high it's going to go up. But this is my buddy from Go Wild Fabrication, been a long time friend of his, Bruce Stevens, up in the Fort Worth area, and I've actually never met him in person. We've always just talked online, and so I had him come down and help me. He's got a few mobile rigs and brought down his own personal vehicle with the pallet in there with the Miller Trailblazer, and he brought his drone and a couple of shots of us out there working from the drone. So pretty cool stuff. So the next day I had a couple of, actually a container of new press brakes coming in, and went down to the port. This is actually near the port here where the containers were broken down and loaded on the trailers. One of these is actually going to Serious Metalworks, the plasma table builder. Luke Sear, a personal friend of mine, and his son James came down to load one up. Here's one going on my trailer, and then here's the one that was on Luke's son's trailer, and taking that up to their facility. And from here I took one of them to the other one to San Angelo, Texas, which was about a 6-hour drive from Houston. All right, here we are, Brady, Texas. One last little stop.
Proceed to the route.
The last 100 miles I couldn't see. It was so dark, no street lights. And so I couldn't even see the straps and all to make sure it was hanging.
Proceed to the route.
So our binders are tight.
For 61 miles, continue straight.
Ooh. Yeah. All right, let's tighten that one up. All right, so this is still all part of the same day. I'd left that morning from the shop and drove about 3 hours down to Houston to the port, loaded up this machine, loaded up the other machine for Serious Metalworks, and then I took off from Houston going to San Angelo. Made it to San Angelo by I think around 8 or 9 p.m. And this is in San Angelo at Blaine Thompson's shop, who's also kind of a long-term friend of mine. Never met, well actually he has been by the shop a few months ago. So that's Blaine there that you see in the video doing the rigging and all. And so we used the telehandler there to just lift it straight up. It was questionable. It was a 6,000 pound capacity telehandler lifting a 7,700 machine, but you can see the telescoping is all the way in, and we were rigged to the mast, so was able to have enough in it to get it lifted up and then just drive the trailer straight out from underneath it. So that took us a while to actually get that off of there and get it positioned. You see Blaine working on it here, getting it moved over into place with his little walk behind skid steer. I didn't show it on video because as soon as we got it into place, I kind of became more engaged, helping with getting it filled with fluid and wired, and then getting it fired up. And we actually had it fired up and running and bending metal by about midnight. And then, crazy enough, San Angelo is only about a 4-hour drive back to the shop. I left out of there a little after midnight and got back to the shop by 4:35 a.m. And so almost a 24-hour work day there for me.
Get close trailers and trying to work that out.
You think it's pretty close to the middle?
There we go. Brakes are showing back. Okay, so we got it up 7 inches, and obviously the weight to do it, the heaviest part of this thing's the back.
Oh, it is, yeah.
So,
I mean, it's very heavy at the back.
yeah, well that's
So yeah, this was a couple months back, and this was the very first machine that we used the crane for, gantry crane, I guess. And so getting it under there and getting it set up, we were taking our time, not getting in a hurry at all. Don't even know if this is going to work. Making small moves at a time, kind of figuring it out. You see the guy walks up there, and that's our local steel yard, Maverick Metal, making a delivery of some I-beams for a different project. And so you see we stopped what we're doing there and flip the camera around to unload the beams here in a second once we got a little tension on there. You see we started to get it up and it was ready. We were ready to pull the trailer out, but again, just showed you there real quick that it was lifted up. And you see the 40-foot gooseneck backing in there. I don't have a lot of space. I've definitely got to make a little bit more room to back stuff in and out. It's, it's not super tight, but if you're like me and don't have a lot of experience backing and moving stuff around, it is a little tight for that. So here we are, got the steel unloaded, now back to pulling the trailer out and just going slow with it. And you'll notice a little bit that when it's coming down, it does want to rock one side to the other. And you'll also see that I have it off-centered to the left a little bit from this view, because all the weight is on the front part of this machine. The ram and the cylinders are all in the right side of the machine as you're looking at it there. So we did have it adjusted off to get the weight as centered up as we can. So you can see that worked out well there. And then in the next clip, you're just going to see me using the dollies to get it, with a forklift moved into the shop. All right, that footage you were just watching was from about a month ago, and here we are up to the present day, current day. The video is being uploaded, and you notice the laser's gone, and I got 5 of these in, 3 of them sold already, and then these 2 are available. So if anybody's interested in getting one of these, 69 ton, 63 inches wide, they'll bend 3/16 steel across the full width, 1/4 inch at about 30 inches wide, and 3/8, even in narrow widths. They're identical machines, except for that's 3-phase and this is single phase. I can get them in any color that you want, and I've been getting them without all the stickers and crap that they normally come with. And so yeah, so let me know if you're interested in one of those. This machine right here, some people have asked about it a lot. It's actually sold, and got an appointment with a hotshot driver coming to get that on Saturday and take it to Pennsylvania. That's a little 33-ton machine. These are $19,000, by the way, if anybody is interested in the price on that. Well, guys, what you're taking a look at is the very last cuts on the CNC fiber laser before I sold it. And as you guys have, for those of you that have been following along for some time, know that I don't really keep these machines that long when I get them in. I've had, I think, 3 plasma tables, and now this laser in the course of about 5 years, so been averaging about a year each. I had this one really running and dialed in for less than a year, and I sold it to a guy down in Florida. And you're just looking at some pieces I made in January, the very last pieces of metal art that I did, and I made these signs and 38 awards that were given to the Texas pork producers, and so finished that job up just in time for getting the laser finished, or to start to decommission the laser to get it shipped out to Florida. And again, some of the parts here for those pieces that I cut. And I did not get a lot of footage on decommissioning the laser and hauling it, but I did get some, and I'm going to show you that now and talk to you about a problem that I ran into once I got it to Florida that gave us a setback, but worked out in the end. And if you want to learn how to do this super cool metal art with the killer paint jobs, go out to my website and go into the video tutorials section, and in there you're going to see several videos, about 5 or 6 different ones. I sell them for $19 each. Each one of them is at least an hour long, maybe some of them are 2 hours long, broken down into modules, easy to follow, on everything from the airbrushing techniques to using LED signs, to the artistic grinding, everything you need to know to get the cool paint jobs on metal art. I did not get a lot of detailed footage of decommissioning the laser, and you're just seeing a panning shot here of about halfway through getting it all disassembled. A lot of wiring, a lot of moving pieces and parts, and you can see the gantry off of it over there, and the tube cutter pulled out, and all the details of it just sort of staged out and getting ready to get it loaded, and the control cabinet, and all that. So, well, you can see the table here. This thing's about 18 feet long and weighs about 5,000 pounds without all the stuff on it. And so we use the crane to get it lifted up and then back the trailer underneath it, and to get it loaded. And it worked out really good. And here we are, a few pictures of everything loaded up, strapped down, ready to go. Well, some of these are not fully loaded, just some random shots of when it was in progress. But a few shots of just the, from the road and, just some of the scenery there. It's about 1,100 miles of driving from Texas down to the Tampa area through 4 states. And it was about 19 hours of driving, and I stopped for 4 or 5 hours at a truck stop and slept a little bit. When I crossed over into Florida, I was rudely greeted by the Florida DOT, and I'll leave it at that. Once I got on site down in Florida at the Tampa area, there was a crew of guys there waiting to help get this thing unloaded, and it was awesome. Great group of young men. The guy that bought the machine from me, his name is Chris. He's 27 years old, had a successful career as an electrical lineman, building towers and being helicoptered in to the top of towers, just doing lineman work. It's in his family, and he's a member of a few different unions, and is kind of relegated back into only responding to storms and going into big situations. So he's doing the fab shop work as a way to keep himself busy. So he had a plasma table and some other equipment, so he ended up buying my laser to add to it. And just to look at some of their property here, they owned about 20 acres down just outside of Tampa, and just really enjoyed the time there. I was there for about 6 or 7 days. I don't remember the details. It ended up having to stay a day longer because I was getting ready to head out and the machine stopped working, and so it took a little bit to get it back cutting right again, and we'll talk about that more in a second. So just showing you some of the shots of their shop and in the progress or process of getting it all unloaded and staged and wired back up and running again, basically reversing the process of disconnecting it all. So yeah, just showing you some details about that. And this is a family, used to be family business, and they did lineman transformers and stuff like that. Now these kids that got the laser from me, they're in their mid-20s. They're now linemen. They work full-time and do lineman work. But anyway, they own all this property, all the houses that you see, that house, and there's another house right here that you see, and then this is Chris's truck, the guy that bought it from me. He's got a $20,000 stereo in this, all on airbags, custom Dodge Cummins. And then their mom lives over here in this property, or this part of the property, and she's been really good running errands for us, getting food, just whatever we needed. And they got a potbelly pig. It was out here a minute ago. Let me see if it'll come up.
I know it. We have some pretty cute pictures of them. Some of them jumping up, like Freckles will jump up. Freckles, here.
All the tails are going.
Where's Freckles? Here. Freckles, right there. She's like, when I tell you they'll do something, they won't do it, but she will. She will. And if you're feeding, they'll sometimes get on each other, on top of each other. So they'll stand on their backs and what have you. But you see, the politeness is to sit down, and they're supposed to sit.
So one of the issues I had been having in my shop is I never could get the tube cutter working right, and I had a feeling of what it was, and just never took the time to pull some of the wiring back out. So while I had it all apart, we were able to get that solved, and you see the tube cutter is really working well, dialed in good. This is just a quick little test part that I drew up in Fusion 360 out of some, I think it was 4-inch tubing, and you see what a nice job it did here on the cut. And then here's fly cutting some 16 gauge cold roll with nitrogen, cutting at about 350 inches a minute or somewhere in that range. It's not super fast on 16 gauge. 18, 20 gauge, it cuts super fast. Again, more 16 gauge, getting fly cut here. Again, just as we got the machine up and running, just doing some test cuts to make sure it was still running good. So I had a Cowboys flag order come through, so I went ahead and cut it and got it in the truck so I could paint it. And you see I cut a sugar bear out here and another one there, showing them how good it would cut. Cutting really nice, and then all of a sudden it lost its ability to cut. You see it's barely even cutting out. That one's bad. None of those are good. So that's kind of what we're dealing with. So one of the common consumables you have to check and replace and clean on a regular basis is the lower protective lens. And we had some contamination on it, but changing that out did not help it any. And then there's the upper lens, which you're supposed to very rarely and sparingly get into. Also had contamination on it. Cleaned that and replaced it, and still did not have success. So working with the Prima engineers, we got into the actual lower part of the laser itself. You can see that it's down into the actual optics, and this is an area of the laser that you really shouldn't be messing with in the field. These are supposed to be worked on in a sealed environment, but trying to get it going, we had no choice but to get in there and try to see if we could figure it out. We didn't really see anything. The upper and lower lens were clean, and the optics down inside the sealed area, didn't appear to have anything, but all it really takes is just a microscopic piece of fuzz that will throw off the focus and cause it not to cut. So we just kind of blew it off lightly with air, put it all back together, and then bam. So after that, we got it all up and running, and I headed on out of there back toward Texas, and arrived back in Texas just in time for a snowstorm. Hey, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I wanted to talk to you about a new offering that I have. I've had the great fortune over the last few months of working with a lot of younger guys, including the guys that just bought my laser, and I'm really seeing this very encouraging trend of younger people in their 20s and 30s being very aggressive regarding entrepreneurial kinds of things. In the time that we're living in, with what all's going on in our country, no matter how you feel about it, I'm impressed, and I'm excited to see what these guys are doing. A lot of you out there that may be watching this video may know about that, may see some of it, but don't really know how to get started. Maybe you've got your own little fab shop working out of your garage. Maybe you got a 4x4 plasma table and you want to be able to take it to the next level. And I've spent a lot of time talking to guys in this consulting kind of offering. I've never really mentioned it in a video, but it's on my website. So if you go out and take a look, you can sign up for that. And I'd like to work with you, help you out, be a mentor, hold you accountable, and help you go from where you are now to whatever it is the next level is in your business that you're trying to achieve.